So,
right. Are there any particular models that you find would be like the most coherent or defensible?
I think that's the Swinburnian model that, God has to be in time. I think it's the atemporal personhood is incoherent. Not simple in that sense, not immutable in that sense. I think those are much more defensible. I think that you lose very little by shifting to a God of that depiction.
Okay.
I don't think there's a lot of advantages to the depiction as classical theism.
Sure. Well, yeah. And now that you mentioned it, could you kind of maybe walk us through a little bit of the problems of divine eternity and God's relationship to time? Since you mentioned that, as far as God should be in time, what are your thoughts and reasons for that?
And it's. I have reasons. I don't know if any of them are particularly unique. I think Nielsen did a really good job on a lot of this, but the only thing I add is I set up eternality as a dilemma. Well, either God exists in time or out of time. God is out of time. There's a lot of problems I'll get back to in a minute. But if God is in time, that's a problem as well, because then you have a perfect intellect seeming to twiddle thumbs for an infinity before creating, even though creation is supposed to be good. And so that's hard. Now, in terms of an immutable person, first of all, I've never really seen it defended except anything like vague analogies, like a person sitting on a hill looking at all these different things. In and of itself, that's not fatal, but it's a worry. I think one interesting discussion I had with a Thomist one time is, it was definitely not his intent, but he convinced me quite thoroughly that an immutable deity entails determinism and no freedom of the will, because 5 minutes from now is equally real to God. And God is already godding on that time. And of course, there's just this issue of personhood. Well, things like thought and decision, and things like love, and literally any part of being a person we know of or have any experience, is essentially temporal, as is causation. I don't even know what I think atemporal causation seems to be incoherent too. And again, that's something I say independently of my beliefs about theism. And so you pay a very high cost in shifting to a timeless deity. If it's immutable, of course, then you have worries about, does that mean prayer can't work? Because that seems to be attempting to influence a deity in actions and all that stuff. So I think, I'm not saying there aren't sophisticated accounts that try to address each and every one of these, but just like we talked about a while ago, the more complex and sophisticated accounts you have to say about it, the more it lowers the prior probability. That's even if you can get it to be clearly coherent.
Right.